When it's time to scale your business, it's time for Shopify. Get everything you need to grow the way you want. Like, all the way. Stack more sales with the best converting checkout on the planet. Track your cha-chings from every channel, right in one spot. And turn real-time reporting into big-time opportunities. Take your business to a whole new level. Switch to Shopify. Start your free trial today.
Welcome to No Question About That. I'm Ed, today with Adam. How's it going, Adam?
Feels weird to have no football for 2 weeks. I didn't realise that we didn't have it next weekend either. So a real break into the sprint to end of the season. How you going?
Well, it's football. It's World Cup qualifiers and so on, Nations League. I did actually watch England scrape past Albania, I would say. It wasn't particularly impressive.
You weren't impressed?
Performance. I wasn't particularly impressed or entertained. I don't normally bother with England games unless it's a tournament. So, but you know, Thomas,
is it because too many games?
Yeah, a little bit of that, and a little bit. I don't find myself that enthusiastic about them, or that patriotic. Is that the right word? I get excited about it during the tournaments. Different thing. I'd watch pretty much every England cricket game, so that's different. So. Not doing too well at the moment. Anyway, today's topic, we are talking about the final quarter of the season, if that's the thing, but this is a nice sort of break. 9 league games up to 5 Europa League games. They are, I guess, the only ones that really, really, really matter, although I'd say to the fans, we're looking for some signs of progress, but we'll get to that. It's quite a tough run-in, both in terms of the intensity of the fixture schedule, especially during April, and May will be this way as well, as if we get through to the semi-final and the final, hopefully, of the Europa League, but also in terms of the quality of the opposition. We're facing some really tough games in there.
Incredibly tough. I don't think we could have asked for a harder run-in. It's almost a relief to not have cup football, as bad as that is to say, just because of how threadbare the squad is. Like There's not a lot of room for rotation. We've got players coming back who are already, it's fair to say that the likes of Mason Mount, Luke Shaw, who are close to returning or on the brink, are injury prone, so can't throw them straight into the fray. It's a real interesting question of to how much you rotate in the league to prioritise the Europa League when league position does matter for this club financially right now. I'm just curious to see how they build on the 4 games that led into the international break.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it looks really tough to me, but I don't see how Amorim can rotate heavily in order to prioritise the Europa League, both in terms of, well, one, it's very hard to turn the tap on and off like that as a team, just like, hey, we're going to play well here and then not here. But also, it's not that far. I mean, it feels a bit of a stretch to get into the top half of the table, say, and challenge, say, Villa or even Bournemouth for 8th, 9th. 7th, 8th, 9th, that kind of thing. There's an 8-point difference. It could happen. You never know. Villa may be prioritising the Champions League now. Like, who knows? But every place is worth about £3.5 million. So if you look at the amount of revenue United will raise from season ticket and other ticket price increases next season, 12 to 15 million, depending on what happens with the sort of member match tickets. Well, we'd get that much just from moving 4 places up the table. So, which was the point that a lot of fan groups have made. Yeah, all very good, sort of squeezing the fans for this money, but if you just perform a little bit better, you'll get that money anyway. And of course, the same is true in the Europa, that getting through to the final, winning it, what with 2 extra home games, that's going to be about £10 million for those extra home games, the broadcast and the facility fees, and then the prize money. It could be worth up to something like 50 or 60 million over the course of the tournament in prize money for United. So performance on the pitch really matters more. So that really matters for United next season. Obviously, Europa League really matters for Champions League qualification. But I think the fans are just desperate for some good performances. That's like almost more than anything else. Let's see some attacking football. Let's see some football that works. Let's see some nice wins. Let's see something inspirational so we can, when we put this season to bed in how long? A couple of months' time?
2 months' time.
Yeah. when we put this season to bed in 2 months' time, we can feel kind of good about it going into the summer. Hopefully, well, of course, we've got a postseason tour and a pre-season tour and not much time in between, but hopefully we can then generate some momentum to go into the next season. I guess that's what we're looking for.
Definitely. I think you need something you can hold on to. Those 4 games prior, Sociedad, Arsenal. God, I'm forgetting the last one before the international break. God, why am I forgetting it?
Someone we beat comfortably.
Leicester. Apologies, Rude. Yeah, for me, it's something you can hold on to. So it's more than, I think the group has pretty fragile confidence. So I don't think you can just punt the league games and focus on the Europa League. I think they really benefit from the momentum that those results generate. So I just think you have to try and rotate as a little bit in the league fixtures and prioritize the Europa League, but you need results in both. You need to hold the clubs at the higher end of the table. You need to beat those teams in the middle, maybe climb a little bit, dare I say, on the table. There's a lot of 6-pointers in there because it's so tight. 13 points between United and the Champions League. Not saying that there's anything in that for United. United aren't playing Champions League football next year unless they win the Europa League. But I think, the fans need something that they can tangibly hold on to, which is more than just glimpses of football, which is we're starting to see more and more of. But you need reasons to back in not only Ruben Amorim, but the players going into the summer. The club needs positive momentum on the pitch.
Yeah, for sure. And, let's talk about some of the fixtures because this is going to be pretty tough to achieve. I mean, I'll go through and just list them out a little bit. April, we got Forest away, City at home, Lyon away, Newcastle away, Lyon at home, Wolves at home, and Bournemouth away. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of football, after not playing any football for the last 2 weeks when we go into this. I mean, 6-7 games, and just some really tough ones. I mean, there's not a single fixture there. I mean, maybe Wolves at home, you'd go, okay, that's a bit more of a gimme, but they've actually had some decent results recently as well. So I mean,
they've been competitive coming to Old Trafford too in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Let's not mail anything in.
We got Forest who going incredibly well at the moment. I mean, they have a particular way of playing under Nuno, but I think they're generating more bang for the buck than one would expect with the quality of players they've got. City, yeah, they're not having a great season, even when they spent £200 million in the winter transfer window. Hopefully, by the time we play them, we'll have some smoke signals coming out of the 115, 130, however you want to frame it, charges case. At least, it looks like we get 2 parts to that. The kind of indicative verdicts and then the sentencing. Pep, I think, is kind of confusing us when he keeps talking about the sentencing. That's not right, I don't think. But hopefully we'll get some signals coming out before we play them, and it'll be particularly downing for them because we'll know they're guilty and they're going to play in the National League next season.
I think what's been funny, we've already got lackeys like Mike Keegan writing little things about Sky Sports who have been hesitant to talk about it the whole way through. Not a whole bunch of lackeys, but that's also a broadcast. There's a lot in that. I find it interesting. Well, what I will find interesting is when I think the club gets the verdict 2 weeks before the public do. So they'll have time to brief and the Premier League will have time to brief. So that's when we'll start getting those smoke signals. I'm really curious to how that plays out. I'm still pretty convinced that there is enough in between the emails and the publicly available evidence already that there will be a level of guilt. It's just the extent of it. Yeah, I think Kieran Maguire said he's expecting a heavy points deduction. I mean, I'm expecting enough to relegate them because they can't actually relegate them, can they? So It's going to be enough to relegate them the following year. I'm just looking forward to it. Looking forward to it being over. Tired of the arguments on Twitter. I'm not entirely tired, but tired of the misinformation about it. And yeah, hopefully we can put a nail in the coffin. I feel like those fixtures, when we're going to play teams that are really going to be on the front foot against us, suits us better than the teams who will play a more pragmatic style.
That is fair. I mean, clearly Ruben Amorim doesn't want to be playing this style of football. He talked about it recently, didn't he? He wants United to have more possession and to be on the front foot and do the attacking. We've got a negative goal difference and we're in 13th place in the table. I think some pragmatism is sensible right now. Just get through this season. we are more dangerous playing as a transitional team than we are trying to heavily control games. We're looking for signs that we're sort of moving forward, of course, right? I guess the one after City is Lyon away. I mean, they're not doing as badly as a kind of chaos club might suggest. They've got some good players. Ryan Cherky's the one that everyone's sort of interested in, 20-year-old Frenchman, subject of, say, some inquiries that John Textor was not the best pleased about and not best pleased about Ryan's representation. So it seemed like he was suggesting in those that 50 million is the asking price for this player. Anyway, he's a talented player. And Lyon are in some financial trouble. They may even get relegated. There's been an indicative judgment from the French Football Federation that is going to happen due to them not submitting their accounts on time, due to, it seems like, John Textor running out of money, although it's not been very clear about that. But so there should be a challenging fixture, but what United should win this game against a sort of mediocre French side.
It's much like the Real Sociedad clash. I feel like it's still a quality opponent, but they're not the club that we've played previously. I think that United should be able to get a positive result away and finish the job at home. That should be the challenge. A draw or better, finish it at Old Trafford. I think they've shown that they're much better suited to the Europa League. I think the difference in physicality and athleticism suits them, brings out the best in, say, a Casemiro, who has had a nice little revitalisation the last month or so. And I think we've seen the most progress in the way that they play in those Europa League games. I think, a team like Nottingham Forest is a great example of where United struggle. A team with physicality and athleticism who will beat you up and run all over you is not the kind of team that we want to be playing right now. So that'll be a really tough away game. But looking forward to the Europa League. Yeah. I always thought it was more winnable than the FA Cup, mainly because of the opponents. Not in terms of quality, but the style of football that they play. It's just more suited to the squad that United have right now.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fair analysis. It looks like, obviously, depending on other results, but it could be Athletic Bilbao in the semi-final. That will be a tough game. Obviously, they've got some in Nico and Iñaki Williams, a couple of really high-quality players there. I don't know if you saw Iñaki Williams' goal the other week, where he's given a sort of bobbly pass and he flicks it over the defender's head and smacks it into the...
did say that one.
Yeah. And Nico Williams, obviously subject to lots and lots of interest from a lot of the big clubs, club, because it's been a few years, but club that has given us a few difficult fixtures in the past decade or so, for sure. And that would be a really tough one. Probably the tough... I mean, could in theory face Spurs or Lazio or Eintracht Frankfurt on the other side of the bracket there in the final, all of whom reasonable sides, although Spurs are. I guess that's a big challenge for the league campaign. Can we finish above Spurs, fighting out for 13th and 14th?
Here at Blue Apron, we know exactly how hectic school nights can be. That's why we created Assemble and Bake. Delicious one-pan meals that make family dinner simple. Just assemble the pre-chopped ingredients and put the pan in the oven to bake. Then you're free to help out with that last-minute diorama. Shop Assemble and Bake at BlueApron.com. Get 50% off your first 2 orders with code APRON50. Terms and conditions apply. Visit BlueApron.com/terms for more.
Not the team I want to play in the final. I won't lie. I just don't think the way that Tottenham play doesn't really suit the way that we try to play. We haven't fared too well against them, but they are defensively vulnerable. We just really struggle against them this season. I shouldn't, but they've been a bit of a bogey team, but it would be nice to finish above them and then deny them a trophy if it were to come to that. But I think Athletic are as tough a challenge as United could have the rest of the way. I think we talked about this. We did talk about this with the new stadium pod, but their stadium is a lot like the design of the new stadium, the San Mams. I apologise again. Yeah, for my Australian pronunciation of the word. But yeah, it would be really, really tough challenge. Haven't enjoyed playing there. But yeah, I don't know what to expect.
That that Europa semi-final would come on in between the Bournemouth and Brentford away fixtures. The first leg would, and then the second leg in between West Ham and Chelsea, I think, and or the 17th week of the 17th. Anyway,
yeah, handy. At least it's there between Wolves and Bournemouth. There's a week off.
Yeah.
Before that potential semi-final. So we'd play Bournemouth and then have the first leg of the semi-final potentially. So at least they'd have some time after a really chaotic April, which I think they're going to need.
They're really going to need it. I mean, after Lyon, we got Newcastle away. 3 days later, that's not going to be obviously they beat us up at Old Trafford. I mean, literally and metaphorically.
As bad as it's been.
And given our lack of physicality in midfield and the fact that they are particularly physical, it doesn't suit us particularly well. They're on a high, having won the Carabao Cup for their first trophy in centuries or whatever it was. Feels like a very long time. And much as I was glad that they beat Liverpool, because you spot anyone against Liverpool, I didn't really.
Oh, they said that Liverpool were better fans on the day than we were back in 2023. Might have been because they lost that day, but that's just me.
Yeah, fuck off. Is my analysis of that one. Yeah.
That January game, the last time we will ever see and ever saw the Casemiro-Eriksen midfield.
Yeah, well, we did see them both in the team not long ago, but Eriksen played further forward. Yeah, as a pivot. It's a disaster. Yeah. And end of April, we got Bournemouth and Brentford. Brentford's kind of in consolidation season, I'd say, for them. They haven't really moved forward. I guess Ivan Toney moving, who hasn't scored that many goals in the Saudi Pro League. So, I mean, he needed a... You didn't
say the TalkSport question about him being in the England squad because of how many goals he scored compared to all the other England players in the squad.
Yeah, right. Interestingly with Ivan Toney, he'd never been paid more than £1 million a year ever throughout his career. I mean, he was on a long-term contract from playing in the Championship. So you don't exactly begrudge a pro getting paid because he's coming into his 30s now, and it won't be lasting much longer. Brentford haven't gone backwards, mainly because Bryan Mbeumo has had a brilliant season. Again, another brilliant season.
Future Manchester United player.
Yeah, maybe.
Bryan Mbeumo, maybe.
It depends if we can afford him. It's a good question. I mean, he plays a lot off the right, though, for Brentford. He doesn't always play through the middle, right? So
I think, like, if you're looking at that right-sided 10, that sort of Bryan Mbeumo, Ryan Cherky player is the sort of target. But it's the price, because I don't think United want to be pushing much more than, say, £40 million on a signing when they have to make so many this summer. But I don't know if 40 million is quite going to be enough. But I think Mbeumo has a year to run. So that does change the circumstance. If Lyon do get that financial penalty and face relegation, again, changes the equation for them. But I dare say United aren't going to be the front of the queue for Cherky. So that's going to complicate things for people's preferred targets as United's current standing.
Yeah, I think the fact that Cherky hasn't left has got a few people asking questions about him as a personality and whether this is risky. I mean, speculation, I know nothing, I should say, about that one, but just the fact that he's at a French club and he's been noted as a talented player for quite some time now. It's a bit odd he hasn't left, but I think the answer is that John Textor is trying to maximise the value of that player. He may not get much choice this summer. Brentford have shown they will sell players. I mean, Toney didn't go for that much. David Raya before that, when they're running down their contracts, it's their model, right? It's their data model. So they're very similar to Brighton in that respect.
Yeah, they signed the wing-back target that I wanted, Michael Kyoto from Fiorentina. So it sort of shows where we're at, that we couldn't outmuscle them for that. But again, we couldn't do deals for wing-backs in January. So moving on.
Yeah, as well, quite a lot of this squad, which will be interesting watching quite a lot of this squad. Like, how do they respond to some of this, especially the players who are definitely leaving? So,
I was wondering what you think, actually, now that that's come up. I was talking to someone on Twitter about Diogo Dalot. His book value is now 0. Now that his fee is paid off, could fetch a fairly decent fee because of his age and his contract. Would you sell him to? Do you think because of his? I would say a square peg, round hole fit in the squad. He's not a wing back. He's not a right centre back. But he's durable, really durable and somewhat versatile. Is there a decision to be made there for you?
I think the better decision is, do we think he's good enough? He's good enough for a mid-ranked United side. When he was in the side and we were assuming we were a Champions League qualifying side, I'm not sure that we were that happy with him. He did have a very good season last season in a pretty disastrous campaign overall. That's maybe been his only really consistent season. Obviously, he spent time out on loan as well. But he does have a long-term contract. United have some security there. I would only be tempted if it felt like a unbelievably stupid fee for him. Otherwise, squad player, no PSR hit, all of that on reasonable wages. It depends if it's like him or another wing-back, if you can have another wing-back and him. Because we've been in this situation where we just don't have enough fit players and we want ideally 2 for each position. So we're not doing this thing that we have done for the last couple of years, which is just playing some rando in a position where they're clearly not suited to. I don't really want to see Mazraoui at wing back. I know he had a good game the other day, but I don't think he's just not physical enough to get up and down. I think that's the thing people say about wing backs all the time. They have to be physically very strong, which we see with Patrick Dorgu. Technically good as well, but physically they haven't.
Yeah, it's such a demanding role.
Yeah. So Mazraoui's not it, which means we've got one wing back in the squad, basically.
And knowing how important we've seen it in the last few games, how important having competent wing backs is to the system with how the system uses cutbacks, and we don't quite have the players to get onto those cutbacks as well at the moment. So yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. I think it would be, if you're selling Delo, what is the fee to bring in another wing back? I mean, we've seen with the Giovanni Kenda deal what it takes to get those players.
Yeah.
So
Chelsea have paid a massive amount of money for him. I mean, 40 million up front, but there's a whole bunch of bonuses in there. They've stretched to a number that United were never going to go to for a player like that. I think you can think about United's summer transfer budget, since we're talking about it, as one big one. Let's just, assuming everyone goes, assuming Chelsea activates Sancho, Rashford goes to Aston Villa, Casemiro goes to the Pro League for zero money or whatever it is, right? And then there's a few players go on free: Evans, Lindelof, Eriksen. Maybe they do a swap with Onana. I wouldn't be surprised if they're not looking at it, at least, given that he's not really a good fit. If they can maximise the outgoings, and we have Champions League football, I think it's one big one, probably a striker, and then 2 or 3 in the 30 to 40 million range, and another 2 or 3 in the 10 to 15 million range. And that's sort of the strategy for the summer, and mostly on younger players. The big one is that striker. Like, they can't go into next season with like Rasmus Højlund and Josh Zirkzee as our 2 forward options. It's just impossible.
Well, Zirkzee is clearly not a forward in the system.
He's clearly not a forward, right?
He's playing as a 10. I don't see him leaving based on his current trajectory since January. But I also found the Højlund stories of the last week kind of, I don't know, it was weird smoke signals coming out of that one. Yeah. But to me, he doesn't go anywhere because he's of remaining book value.
Yeah.
Italian clubs are going to be the ones who buy him. They aren't stacked for cash. So you don't need to sell him to bring another striker, because you actually need him to stay as that second striker, which would be better for him.
Right. And even the option of sending him away on a loan, I mean, given that United would have charged quite a high loan fee for it not to be a negative financial impact, basically. I mean, you wouldn't get an impairment with a loan, but imagine they charge a £5 million loan fee. There's another 10 million that we're paying out just having played for someone else, which is basically what we're doing with Rashford and Anthony and so on. Rashford's slightly different, 0 book value. But that is the challenge with Rasmus Højlund. So we'll see. I mean, if they took what would be like a £40 million fee or something like that, there would be an impairment charge. You can have the cash, fine, and it wouldn't be all up front anyway. So it's hard to see a way out of this problem, but they definitely can't go into next season being the only option. It would just be absolute madness to do that. So
it's a problem we've got to get past, where we're constantly just shuffling the pieces around to cover gaps because of injuries. We've got to actually have 2 players for every position that aren't getting thrown up from the youth team or getting put across to it like a right wing back being played left wing back just because that's all there is. It just got to get past that.
Yeah.
It's just been a problem for feels like half a decade.
That's the other thing with the remainder of the season. How many of the younger players do we see? We've seen quite a few on the bench recently. Harry Amas got some time the other day. We've seen Jack Fletcher on the bench as well. And obviously Chido Obi and Aidan Heaven have both featured recently. There's a few others sort of like at the edge of the first team. I guess it'll be interesting if Ruben Amorim believes that any of them could feature next season, whether he might slowly introduce them. I don't expect to see like 4 or 5 younger players in any of these games.
Especially with the fixtures, it's not like there's a lean run in. It's just hit after hit.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Fergie used to do it last game or two at the end of the season when we'd already won the league by 50
A bit easier
points.
when there's goodwill.
Yeah.
Yeah, something to celebrate. Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see if any of them come through. I would not say it was obvious that there are loads of players that could fill a lot of these gaps. Unless United aren't in Europe at all and you want some of these players to fill the squad out because we have a much smaller budget, we don't spend that 60 million on a striker, or it's an extra player that we don't buy, basically. Hefty extra player, or two medium-sized players that we don't buy, not being in the Champions League, and whether some young players, kind of 3 or 4 of them, take the place of 1 or 2 sort of traditional squad players and have a few games, 10, 15 games next season each. And that's a way of filling out the squad rather than spending money.
When I saw that Real Betis were potentially interested in another year of Anthony on loan, which is unlikely because it just doesn't make sense. I was thinking about how you and I said we'd be lucky to get 20 million euros when we did our 5 worst signings. I wonder if 20 million euros is all of a sudden somewhat realistic across the continent based on what we've seen, if you can finish the rest of the season that way. And then there's the talk about Luke Shaw being back on grass training now. So I'm wondering, is Luke Shaw... I don't know how hard it is to move a player like Luke Shaw because of his salary. Yeah, I'm not sure what you think. You wouldn't need a fee. What percentage chance would you think that he's at the club?
Quite high, just because he won't get that salary matched elsewhere. As we've seen with other injured players, it tends to not be the case. For all his quality, he would have to go on some kind of heavily incentivized deal. So why would he move on a 1-year contract anywhere? Like a 1 or 2 year contract, he's going to be looking for more security than that. He's got a guaranteed nice fat wage at United, so I'd say it's very unlikely he moves.
Especially with Lissandro's injury, I think you've got him and Aidan Heaven as those primary left centre back roles. You sort of, I think, in some positions because of the budgetary constraints and the amount of work the squad needs, even like with that Diogo Dalot discussion we were having. You'll have to just do some placeholders for another 12 months. Yeah. In a way. Yeah. Like it's not ideal, but you've also just got to be realistic. You can't let 16 players leave. It's just
I don't see Luke Shaw's future being at left wing back. I mean, just so many injuries, so much physical demand. He's going to be 30. It just seems totally unrealistic. Like he'd come back and be able to do that without breaking down. But left-sided of the back 3, we know he can do that. We know he's got the quality and the intelligence. We can't rely on his fitness. So if you squad plan around players who are habitually injured, you're absolutely mental, right? So if United rely on Shaw, Martinez and Mount all being fit for most of next season, you'd like them to be if they're going to be here. You'd like to think, but they've proved completely unreliable. So Lissandro, 2 serious knee injuries, Mason Mount, injury after injury after injury, and the same with Shaw, and you just couldn't rely on them at all. And so they are either, it's a bonus that they're fit and you treat them as squad players, or you try to move them on. Shaw, wages problem. Lissandro Martinez, you've got both the cost we brought him in for if they were thinking of moving him on, which I don't think they will do. Mount's a similar problem. I mean, you'd have to, 55 million 2 years ago, 14 million a year, 3 years left on the contract. Do the maths. It's a really big fee that United would need. So
I also think it's pretty clear that Amorim likes him.
Yeah,
so it's the
there's
sort
a lot
of
to like.
Make use of.
Yeah.
I think there's still redemption in that story. It's a little bit different. I think we're heading for an uncomfortable conversation about Lissandro Martinez in 12 months' time. Heading into next summer, if you can get 6 months of football into him without any concerns, let's say he returns next Christmas, something like that, I think you'd have to consider then selling him on. It just depends on the trajectory of Aiden Heaven, Lenny Yoro. There is some transition there in those centre-backs with Harry Maguire as well in another 12 months. Yeah, there's all questions the club are going to have to ask themselves.
All right. We didn't quite close out the remaining fixtures, but before we leave, I guess the big hope, touch wood, fingers crossed, pray to whichever God you believe in or not, that United make the Europa League final on the 21st of May in Bilbao. So we'll have beaten them and then we'll get jeered by the locals. Touch wood. This is 3 days after a game against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, where Chelsea could be chasing European places and we play 11, 16-year-olds in the team or whatever it is. Yeah, that's how we want our season to end, right?
I mean, if they make the final and then you've got West Ham and Chelsea, do you punt both fixtures?
Yeah.
Or do you play the one against West Ham that's a week or so out from the final? It is a week out, exactly a week out. And then
10 days, yeah.
Yeah, and then it is, yeah. And then you just keep some fitness in the squad by playing that game and then you punt the Chelsea game. Or knowing United's luck, you just punt both.
And they get a bunch of injuries in training, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you play a fairly strong side against West Ham to maintain fitness and whatever, and then you fairly heavily rotate against Chelsea, I would imagine. I mean, this is all wishful thinking, and we're jinxing it by even talking about this right now.
I don't believe in jinxes.
No.
I'm not one for that. I'm just not, I don't have that, what do you call it, like main person syndrome. I just don't believe I can affect the result that much.
I did tweet the other day that United have not conceded any significant chances and controlling this game against Real Sociedad away. And we conceded within 30 seconds of me posting that. So
I'd say that's more probability, right? Just
it is.
That's more on the club. It's just they're just bound to. But I think it's okay to be confident about the Europa League. I really think we showed against Sociedad, particularly the way we carried out the home leg. In the home leg, I felt like we probably played better in the first 70 minutes of the away leg, but we took those chances. And the way we responded to the penalty is not the way we would have responded to the penalty even 6-7 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I think we're seeing clear reasons for optimism, but they've still got to prove us wrong in terms of those jinxes, as you say, that the bad is inevitably coming.
Yeah. It's a disastrous season, whatever happens, basically, but there's degrees of disaster. And I'm like, United finish in the bottom half of the table. It's fair to say it's a disastrous season.
Not worse. I think it's worse.
Yeah. I mean, it's
humiliating.
Yeah, it is. I mean, spent the entire season being mocked by rival fans and pundits, and there's a bunch of people bitching from the sidelines who used to be Manchester United legends, and we talked about that too.
Ryan Giggs was quite positive about Ruben Amorim last night. I enjoyed that. Don't get that very often, so I'll take it.
Yeah, he's a bit of a wrong on his Giggs, but we'll take that from
off the pitch. Love him as a player, hate him as a person.
What a disaster of a human. So, winning Europa League, it takes the edge off the disaster, and it's to repeat what we said over and over again. I mean, it's absolutely transformational in terms of this project moving forward. It's an extra player or more. It's also it's just keeping up. If you look at I think since we last spoke, the amount of money that the Club World Cup will generate, I mean, it's all coming from Saudi Arabia into Trump's bestie, Gianni Infantino's pocket. But it's going to be, for the winners of that, could be 150 million euros, I think, and just huge amounts of guaranteed revenue anyway. It's pretty distorting in England. It's incredibly distorting. If you look down the list of clubs, I actually did this, how sad I am, but I did this, and if anyone wants to benefit my work, you can. FIFA were tweeting out, it's the best 32 clubs in the world, so I went and looked at their ELO rankings for each of the clubs. Not even close. It's not even close.
They found a reason to sneak into Miami. Like, the integrity of the competition is nonsense.
Yeah, just so they can have Messi there to sell some tickets. Yeah, tickets are not cheap, by the way. I was looking at that. Sounders are playing here in Seattle against someone. I can't even remember. Auckland City is one of them. I know that. And they are not. I was thinking, well, I might spend $20 on that, but I'm not spending $100. I'm not spending 100.
Oh, so they've gone for the full American pricing on it as well.
Yeah, knowing close to the eye-watering sums that the actual World Cup will come up with. But anyway, the point being that Manchester City's and Chelsea's revenues are going to grow significantly because of this. I mean, it's like a free £100 million, basically.
Chelsea need it too.
Yeah, Chelsea need it.
Chelsea really do need it.
There's only so many hotels and pieces of land you can sell to yourself.
Well, I think they've got 89 players on the books now, which is just nuts.
Yeah, just mad. And they just keep buying them as well. Just can't help it.
Yeah,
storing up the world's talented youngsters.
People keep saying it's like an American model, but you can't do this in any American sport. You can't do this in the NFL. They have a limit.
No, because you have a salary cap.
Yeah, and the NBA, you have 15 players and a development league. The NFL, you have 55 players in a practice squad. Like it's like player trading, like at a market. It's like they're just storing cattle. It's really bizarre. Like they don't even need Kenda. Sign him as a right winger, but they already have 4. They actually need a left winger because Sancho's their only option. That's why they're trying to get out of that deal. I don't understand the logic in it. Even Chelsea supporters, I don't know if you know Alex Goldberg, but he's been quite vocal about it. Like Chelsea supporters don't even understand the strategy. So there's not a lot of justification for it for me, but I guess we'll see in a few years when they're House of Cards. But what you were saying about the revenue streams, it's the Club World Cup is just making even more of a pyramid at the top.
Yeah.
For all the complaints about the Champions League and how English football's skewing the pyramid of football, the Club World Cup will distort that even further. So all the more reason for United to keep up.
Yeah, and I mean it's I think I'm right in saying slated for every 4 years at the moment. It's Infantino though, so if this is a success and his backers in Riyadh keep backing him, I'm sure he'd love to hold this every 2 years, and it'll be incredibly distorting. And it's the kind of thing that puts pressure on a European Super League as well, because there's only so many European clubs that can take part in the Club World Cup, and they'll all be looking at how do we increase our revenues too. Anyway, that's for the longer term, but just say United are falling behind financially, quite a lot of teams, and it could be quite a big gap if we're at the Champions League for another, what was the plan? The next 4 years, they're planning financially for it.
I'm pretending they're average. That's an average. So like we're trending upwards, but we're starting low, going up. Yeah. So 4 Europa Leagues on average.
All right. I think that's it. 9 games plus hopefully 5 in the Europa League to save a season. Can we do it?
Yes, we can. We've shown that we can. Now we've just got to prove it wrong.
I don't have loads of faith.
Stop the catastrophizing. Yeah, we'll catastrophize in our own time. Every time we give up some stupid chance or play a stupid back pass or something like that, we'll catastrophize, but they can do it. They've just got to prove us wrong.
Very good. Great to have you on, Adam.
Thank you, sir.
Catch you soon, everybody. If you are on YouTube, find your way into the comments and the subscribe button. If you're on podcast app, leave us a rating and a review. It really does help other people find this show. Thank you very much. Bye now.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.